I welcome you. I'm going to speak right into the mic. I hear myself echoing in my ear, and that's not the best way to talk to people, but I'll give it a shot. Folks, I decided that I would run for judge of the Court of Common Pleas of Bucks County to continue the legacy of the retiring Judge Alan Rubenstein, who's a legend in our county. He was a 3-time district attorney. He served 20 years on the bench, and he was always a staunch conservative. And he has this unfiltered quality about him where he tells people what it is, where it is that they went wrong, why it is that he's making the ruling that he's making. And I see that as part of a conservative set of values. He's not ashamed. He's not ashamed to explain to people what it is that's on his mind. And we as conservatives, we also need to do the same thing. Now, I'm a conservative, and I tell people that I'm a conservative and a Republican, and I tell people in that order, because as we know, not all Republicans are conservatives.
Correct.
We've seen that in our county. And what we need to do in this county is we need to make sure to support people with values, conservative political values, conservative family values. That is step number one in us retaking this county. We have to stop hiding our values. Well, what does it mean to be a conservative judge? It's actually rather simple. It means you never ever legislate from the bench. You apply the law as it's written, including the Constitution, which last time I checked includes the Second Amendment.
Amen.
I'm a very strong supporter of the Second Amendment because, well, for self-serving reasons, because I'm a responsible gun owner and I don't want anybody to take my right away to protect my family and my friends. And yet we have candidates running on the Republican side of this election who say, I've never owned a gun, I have no interest. Well, when you have a candidate like that, what skin do they have in the game to protect our rights? None. Whoever said that, that's the right answer. Gold star. Okay. So, first of all, conservative values. We never legislate from the bench. We apply the law as it's written to a set of facts. The law is the statutes of our state, the Constitution of our country, the Constitution of our Commonwealth, and we apply those existing laws to a set of facts. We hear the case with an open mind. We don't prejudge the case. We don't walk into the case and size up the parties and say, oh, you know what? I know who I want to win and who I want to lose. That is not a conservative judicial philosophy. Conservative judicial philosophy is one that is open-minded and one where you apply the laws to the facts and you get a result. Okay, it's easy, but you have to have commitment and you have to have discipline to do that because it's so easy for a judge to fall by the wayside and ignore those values when they decide that there's just some kind of outcome that they want. So it takes discipline. We have seen that. I see it all the time. I'm a practicing attorney. I'm a family law attorney. One of my causes is and has been for many years now to represent victims of domestic abuse and domestic violence. I do so almost every week on a volunteer basis in our court. I volunteer with legal aid. And even through my litigation of protection from abuse cases, I have seen how liberal judges could ruin the process. It's really a horrible outcome when I'm taking somebody by the hand and I'm looking them in the eye and saying, we're going to go in front of this judge and I'm going to fight hard to protect you. I have to swallow real hard when that judge is a liberal judge because I know what I'm up against. It's really, really tough because liberal judges have compassion for the accused rather than for the victims. Liberal judges protect the rights of the accused sometimes more than they protect the rights of the victims. And it's really a sight to see because it amazes me. It's so easy to see what is right and what is wrong. And it amazes me that judges get that wrong so often. And I see that falling upon ideological lines. So I practice in this court and I've been an attorney for 15 years. I'm a trial attorney. I'm in court all the time. So I've got the experience. I know what it means to walk into a courtroom. I know it from the perspective of a lawyer. I know it from the perspective of representing individuals, victims, people who place their trust into me and therefore into the court. So I have the connection to those people. Now, the thing that everyone here needs to know about our Court of Common Pleas is that when we get a new judge, the first stop of that judge is in family division. We have 4 divisions. In our court, we got family, civil, criminal, and orphans court divisions. But the first stop for a judge, a new judge, is on family court. Now that might include hearing protection from abuse cases, it includes hearing custody cases, divorce, support cases, child support cases. It includes hearing children and youth cases, where we have dependency court. These are the most important things, the most important functions of our court, and it's also the busiest division of our court. We have more family law cases on the docket than criminal cases in some instances. And there's usually a lot more trial work in family law because civil cases usually settle, criminal cases oftentimes you get a plea bargain before a jury trial. You don't have that many jury trials. But in family court, almost everything is tried, or at least we get to the courthouse steps with the matter. So I'm telling you that experience matters and experience counts. So you want somebody with the experience, but you also want somebody who represents your values. You want somebody who's not going to be ashamed to stand up and say, I'm a conservative, I follow conservative values, that's what brought me to this court, and I'm going to be on this court for 30 years because our mandatory retirement age for this court is 75 years old and I'm 46. By the time that I take the bench, I'll be 47, so you got me for nearly 30 years. In a county where the pendulum is swinging, and we know it might still be swinging in the wrong direction a little bit, we're trying to fix that, but we don't know what the next election is going to bring. How important is it this time around to vote for a conservative who's going to have a 10-year term, but likely be on the court for the next 30? It's important, folks. It's important. We've got to have these values represented. Everyone's got to stand up and be counted. Now, I'm also proud to tell you that I'm not the endorsed candidate of the Republican Party here in Bucks County. No knock against them, but the reality is they don't support conservative candidates. That's what I've come to learn. They support candidates who have scratched their back and whose back they're scratching. Now, what does that mean? It means that if you get me for a judge, I don't know anybody a favor other than to the people who voted for me. I don't know the party a favor. I don't know their leadership a favor. My allegiance is to the people who voted me and their values and to the truth. That's what really matters in a judge. But they didn't, thank you. But they did not endorse me. Even though I did go up to them before I launched my campaign and I introduced myself and I said to them that I'm running because I want to continue the legacy of Judge Rubenstein, and I'm running because I have conservative values, and somewhere I read that you guys are the house of conservative values. If that's true, you should consider me because I'm electable. I'm electable in November. I went in there and I told them, let's not just look at May 18th, the primary, which is upcoming, which is very important. But I said, let's also look at November, because we've been getting beat in November by Democrats with values who are different than our own. So how do we fight back against them? Well, what's the Democrats' first argument for any political position in the last 5 years?
Racism!
Racism, identity politics. Okay, so the Democrats cherry-picked a woman by the name of Tiffany Thomas Smith to run for this judgeship because she's a black woman. And her entire platform has been, vote for me because I'm a black woman, I'll be the first black woman on the bench, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Okay. She doesn't talk much about her qualifications or her values. But what I said to the party is this. I said, look, I have a way to neutralize that argument because I'm an immigrant. English is my second language. I came here at the age of 6 from Israel. I lived the American dream. We chased the American dream. This is something that we could sell even to some Democrats, because in order to win this election in November, we're going to have to siphon off, we're going to have to skim a few Democratic votes. So how are we going to do that? We're going to do that by running some guy whose family is dug into Bucks County politics, pluck him from the ivory tower? Or are we going to run a guy who's got real values, who's not afraid to stand up and talk about those values, and who could neutralize whatever argument the left is going to throw at us? Well, what they said to me, unsurprisingly, was, no, we're not going to support you. They said, we already know who we're going to endorse. Mind you, this was before the screening process took place, but they already knew who they were going to endorse. And they said to me, why not sit this one out? Why not come back, work for us for a while, we could get to know each other, and we'll endorse you maybe sometime down the road. That's code word, folks, for buy your way in and maybe we'll support you when you've carried enough water for us.
And don't interrupt our agenda.
And so, and yes, it is about their agenda.
That's right.
And I told them about my agenda.
That's right.
I said there's only going to be.
And I like it.
So there's only going to be one opportunity ever to replace Judge Rubenstein. And it's not going to be the next time around or the time after that. It's going to be this time. And I said to them, well, I'd very much like to have your endorsement, but I'm going to run with or without it. I didn't make any friends that day, I promise you. Okay? But here I am a few months later, and I've met a lot of you people. I've been knocking on doors, and I've been knocking on doors of businesses, and I've made a lot of friends who've knocked on doors on my behalf and introduced me and my values, told you about how I'm a family man, how I live in this county, how I want to see this county prosper, and I want us all to win. I want this county to win. And I could bring that victory, but I need everybody's help. Everybody in this room and every room that I talk to, I gotta ask you for your help. Because I can't do it alone. I can't reach 150,000 Republican voters in this county and encourage them to come out on an odd year election where we don't have any national politics on the ticket, where people are really sick and tired of what happened in November. They feel disenfranchised. Maybe they feel like their vote doesn't count. Y'all got to talk to your neighbors and friends and say, listen, be that as it may, you still got to go out and vote this year because we have an important opportunity to take over this judicial office, to take over row offices. I know you're going to hear from Andy Warren in a minute about that.
Not again, they're not.
No, not again. We have an opportunity here, but we got to rise up and fight for it. No one's going to hand it to us. We need to take it. And so what I'm asking all of my friends to do is this. First of all, I'm asking for your vote. And I'm asking for the vote of everybody who you influence. I'm asking for you to visit my website. On my website, you'll find out all the information there is to know about me. I've put my entire life up there, including my cell phone number. So if you want to call and ask me a question, feel free. On my website, there's a portal for donations. I don't have the backing of the party, which means I don't have their money. Somebody texted us something that's almost laughable on our Facebook account the other day. They said they wanted to know if we received any George Soros money. So you must be confusing me with my Democratic opponent, but I'll tell you what, man, I could sure use some of that George Soros money. Because it's that money that we spend to get the message out there, to do mailers, to make more palm cards, more lawn signs, to be able to advertise. So contributions to candidates that you support, it's very, very important. I know a lot of you have done that, but I want to encourage you to reach out to the sphere of influence, the people that will hear you and listen to you, and talk it up. Tell them about this opportunity. Learn about me. Ask questions. Make sure you're voting for the right person. On May 18th, folks, vote Amir Stark for judge.